Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Mullet Mike Hardcastle with you here, bringing you it's a Turtles Band-Aid. Creepy Gaming. That's right, folks. This is the show where we take a look at all kinds of creepy video game aspects over the years. It could be Easter eggs, it could be a creepypasta, might even be a scary game review. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum. Alright, so it's no secret, I love giant monsters. Can't help it, alright? I love Godzilla movies, love all the Toho properties, I love Gamera, I love King Kong. I can't help it. It's just my kind of thing. So, that being said, today we will be covering none other than Godzilla NES Creepypasta. Got a lot of requests to do this, so this one's for you guys. Well, without any further ado, turn the lights down and the volume up as we journey into some creepy gaming. And for you, I've had about enough of your shit. So what's scarier than an incredibly strong, indestructible, fire-breathing monster? I'll tell you. How about a giant, incredibly strong, indestructible, fire-breathing monster? Yeah, I'm talking about the 300-foot, standing in at 100 meters tall, the kaiju king, the king of the monsters himself, Godzilla. Or as us Westerners know him better, as Godzilla. You know, guy in a big rubber suit, destroying miniatures, bad dubbing, all that kind of good stuff. He might not have been the first, but he is what sensationalized the Daikaiju genre. Kaiju meaning monster in Japanese. Godzilla first appeared in cinemas in 1954 and has been thrilling audiences ever since. Being a self-admitted film snob, I grew up watching movies like King Kong and the original Godzilla, inspired by the visual art itself. Needless to say, I am a huge kaiju fan, terrible pun intended and all, but basically put, I'll be referencing a lot of silly named monsters, and if you're not a Toho fan, then you might get a little lost. But I will try my best not to fanboy out and just keep it simple. Even if you aren't a kaiju fan, I think most gamers would appreciate this disturbing story. In 1989, due to the rejuvenation of the pop culture phenomenon, Toho released Godzilla Monster of Monsters for the Nintendo Entertainment System. I remember getting to rent this game when I was just a wee lad. At the time, it was amazing. You just kinda had to make the best of what you had. Unfortunately, over time, this game hasn't aged very well. It's like any Godzilla game, though. If you're a kaiju fan, then you tend to be a little bit more forgiving. I'm actually fortunate enough to own a boxed copy of this game. It's pretty cool, really, but the only thing I don't understand is why is it called Monster of Monsters? What, was King of the Monsters taken? What, you got the Godzilla name, but you can't call it King of the Monsters? It's Monster of Monsters? What does that even mean? Monster of Monsters. It's the king of the monsters. What the fuck? Anyway, I digress as usual. The gameplay is your basic side-scroller where you play as either Godzilla or Mothra, the guardian of the cosmos. Playing throughout space, each level involves you fighting kaiju from various other films. Pretty cut and dry. Now, would you be surprised if I said there was a creepypasta written based on this game? Of course you wouldn't! You wouldn't be watching this after all. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who comment, the real video starts here, you should just go ahead and comment. Go ahead. As a matter of fact, let me save you the trouble and just give you the time code. Here, a few years back, a story was written about the Godzilla NES game. A tale unlike any other. A lot of people have suggested and requested this episode, so this one's for you folks. The truth is, the only reason it's taken me this long to make an episode regarding the Godzilla NES Creepypasta is, well, because I've already covered it. Yeah, that's right. years ago as a matter of fact, myself and fellow compadre Mudahar from Some Ordinary Gamers overanalyzed the hell out of this story. I'll even leave a link in the description if you want to check out our in-depth discussion. But for today, consider this more of a creepypasta recommendation rather than a creepypasta reading. It's just not my style. I haven't covered this because I felt like I said everything that I needed to in that series of videos. But that was years ago, and my opinion has since changed. This story stuck out to me immediately. Why? Well, because this tale is broken down into chapters. Yeah, it's that long. Rather than a short story, this is more like a novel. There are C.S. Lewis books shorter than this. You can tell there was a ton of thought, time, and effort put into it. Chapter 1 is really kind of what you would expect from this type of story. The Godzilla NES Creepypasta is told from the perspective of a gamer named Zachary. He is given a Godzilla Monster of Monsters cartridge from his buddy. This is a nice touch. I like the idea of how it's a cart rather than just some ROM or ROM hack. Zach claims that the game worked fine, nothing out of the ordinary, except when he got to his first fight with Godzilla. He claims the screen began to glitch up. Zachary began to see all these red pixels appear. So rather than keep playing it like most characters do in this type of story, Zach uses logic. He turns off the game and blows into the cartridge to clean it. Hold on, let me clean this real quick. Okay, it's been a while. So Zach restarts the game and he gets past the first level without any issues. Once he begins the second level, Mars, he notices Titanosaurus, who had been in Godzilla films, but not in this game. At this point, Zach's not complaining. He thinks that he has some special version, or maybe even a developer's copy of the game. It is not until he fights Godzilla again that the same red glitch returned. Zachary says himself that he, quote-unquote, foolishly ignored the glitch. He goes on to his battle with Moguera, but notices the classic kaiju is twice the size it should be. Once defeated, Moguera began to disintegrate pixel by pixel. Like myself, being the kaiju fan he was, Zach found this more awesome than creepy. He had played this game and he knew it wasn't supposed to be like this. Again, this had to be some kind of special edition cartridge, right? He proceeds to fight Titanosaurus, the kaiju that wasn't originally in the game. He was a bit taller than Godzilla, which is strange, but since he was bigger in the movies, the kaiju fan enjoyed it. He appreciated the attention to detail. Now in the real game, after the second stage, you're supposed to go to Jupiter, but instead the player noticed he was being sent somewhere called Pathos. Now, what I'm about to tell you wasn't in the creepypasta, but if you know me and you know this series, then you know I always like to dig a little bit deeper. I wanted to find out the meaning of the word, and to my surprise, I found out that pathos is defined as a quality that evokes pity or sadness. Interesting. Now, those of you familiar with the story know that this is only the beginning of Chapter 2. Yeah, like I said, there was a lot to this one. So, Pathos looked just like the Jupiter layout, but with a dark blue hue. It was on this overworld map that he discovered Biollante as the stage's main boss. But wait a minute, this game came out like in 1988, whereas Godzilla vs. Biollante didn't come out until a year later. What? When playing the first stage, he noticed that there were no enemies, no obstacles, just this dark red planet in the background. After breezing through the level, he tried one of the orange cave stages. To his dismay, he noticed a pile of tumorous eyes. Zach claims that this strange music began to play. Now he's starting to get a little creeped out. Seemingly out of nowhere, enemies appeared in this stage as Matango spawned, swarming all around him. Now, if you've played the real game, then you know they tend to recycle the same kaiju for each level, typically with the addition of one or two. So Zachary had to have a rematch with GODZILLA once again, as well as Magera. But this time, things were different. So Zachary had to have a rematch with GODZILLA once again, as well as Magera. Rather than the classic kaiju we all know and love, both appeared different, as these strange-looking creatures. Zach claims that not only were the sprites different, but their fight patterns were as well. After finally defeating the strange kaiju, he went for Biollante. Again, strange that Biollante's movie wasn't out yet. Zachary rationalized this as some sort of Easter egg from Toho, or maybe teased the monster's upcoming film debut. Either way, he eventually had to defeat the plant creature. He was then taken back to the overworld screen. This time, no music, just a new icon in place of the base. And since the base was the only real way to continue on, Zachary moves his Godzilla icon over the disturbing red tribal face. This is when the story really begins to get good. Once starting the stage, he saw a fiery, hellish background. Only one word appeared on the screen: run. It was then we were introduced to the infamous demonic creature simply known as Red. Zach soon found out that he must run from this demonic kaiju. He had never seen such a creature before, nor have I. This was not in any Toho film, this was a brand new creature. Since he only had a one-word instruction, he decided to follow it. He tried outrunning Red, but Red just kept getting closer and closer to him. He eventually gets past him and past the level, which brings us to the next part.